Welcome to Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories. I'm your host, Uncle Benny, and we're about to embark on another episode of the Sludge Report, and I have a lot of tabs open. I'm going to whip through these things. I want to keep the bird's eye view here that the purpose of the Sludge Report is for framing the word around the headlines and what's going on, because we live in an age of deception. The master said, what will be the sign of your return, sign of your coming? First thing out of his mouth was, take heed that no man deceive you. We live, brothers and sisters, in an age of deception. And although there are many warriors against the lies, wielding the sword of truth, unfortunately, the people of God, the church, they generally aren't hearing that. They aren't hearing the kind of things that when they leave the church walls, the sanctuary, or turn off the radio of their, Christian radio or whatever, they're bombarded elsewhere with lies and deception. And then when they tune in, it's a lot of feel-good stuff. It's maybe teaching on things that they're well and good, but how many address prophecy? How many address the end times? And I'm not talking about just, we're going to be raptured out of here and all that nonsense. Because it is nonsense, but that's another topic. And, I'm going to try to stay out of the rabbit holes. Keep it short. 7:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this October 5th, Saturn's Day. And what I want to talk about today has to do with the lies, what I'm going to call the space hoax. Okay. So I'm going to have to make assertions that I'm not going to be able to explore fully or make my proofs to you, and that's not the purpose of this. That's for you to do. I'm making assumptions that you understand the age we're living in, and that we're being lied to on every front, and we are. And just like 9/11, when the scales fall off your eyes, you can see right through it. It's the same with the space program and all the talk about aliens and UFOs and going to the moon and going to Mars, you name it. It's construction, a lot of lies, spin, half-truths, quarter-truths, zero truths, outright, blatant, in your face, making fun of you lies, all these things. And if you're still hung up on, 9/11 was an inside job, that's not right. There were 19 hijackers. You really need to go back. You're in the wrong place. You're absolutely in the wrong place. And before you leave, I will tell you that you are woefully blind, deaf, and it would be better for all if you were dumb. You are dumb in the sense that your mind is dull and dumb, and it's not a put down. It's we can't ever move forward until we know where we are. How do you know which direction to go? How do you know you need to? Somebody needs to tell you that if you're someone who sits there and calls people like me conspiracy theorists things, well, you're a repeater. You're an undisciplined plagiarist using a mind control word to frame the world. To frame people like me, put them in a box, in a category that you don't have to listen to because you've been given a tool. Conspiracy theorist. That has all kinds of emotional undertones and overtones and history now of use attached to people who make conspiracies look like a fringe thing when it actually is how the world is run. So that being said, the disclaimer is, if you are still stuck way back on 9/11, going on 20 years now, that's been, and you've had all the information at your fingertips. I don't care if you're 79, 80, 85 years old. You've been exposed to computers, the internet, things like this. And if you've never asked the question or even heard the question and never went to look for yourself, you may be saved in the end. For Paul even said, the righteous are scarcely saved, but barely so, and you're missing it. You're missing it. You're gonna slide on out of here, and not gonna know a thing or not have done a thing. You've lived a anesthetized life. I don't want that for my life, and I don't want it for anyone else's life either. And I want to be in the truth, and I hope you do too. And that's why I'm here doing what I'm doing today, because we are being lied to constantly. Now, you don't see any pictures on this Sludge report image that you see, because this is from the archives. Let me back up to today's, but back to the bird's eye view of what we're doing. Using the Sludge report, because as a couple weeks now, no, a week or so, I think the last episode was on 9/28. Here we go. Over 30 million views in the past 24 hours. And one of the episodes a week or so ago that I did, I followed up with you on just a ponderous question about, I think that's more than a lot of countries, and how many. I was stunned to find out. I don't even remember the figure now. It might have been 128 of the 100. I think it was 194 nations that were identified on the Wikipedia article about the nations of the world. And we looked at the populations and anything under 40 million. And it was in the hundreds. So, not hundreds. It was over 100. I think it was 128, I think. Either way, I found something today, serendipitously, on a website called Mediaite. Mediaite, as I understand it, I don't see an about section up here. This is maybe I shouldn't even say. I'm not sure which way it leans or anything. If I had to guess, it'd be liberal. Maybe it claims to lean either way, but I think it's they report news, but I think they also report on the reporting of the news. I think. Okay. Either way, it's one of the players. Okay. And here we go. They got the language in here, but that's not what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the article. This is what I want to talk about. Joe DiPaolo. I think it's important, by the way, and I've mentioned it before. Always look to see. Just get familiar with the names when you read articles. Just take in their name. Sometimes there might be some meaning in the name. And when I was growing up and being bullied or attacked by other youth, generally boys a little older than me, my dear mother would say to me, consider the source. Consider the source. I never knew what that meant, even in my teenage years. It wasn't until later where it started to make sense to me, even though I think it's easily explainable. I just found it was that would be your answer to things, and it did me no good because I didn't really understand what she meant by that. And I cannot say that she never explained it to me. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. She did. I probably didn't listen. I don't know, but consider the source, right? The source. So you want to consider the website. You want to consider the author. What's their background? It's a false premise. False premises are used for mind control. False premise to believe that all reporters, all writers of articles are journalists, are interested in the truth, they're getting you the facts, are presenting you an unbiased position. Now, I just said that, and you say, well, I know that. Do you? Do you really keep that in mind? Do you read the name of the guy or gal? Or, as we've seen in the past, several of them who participated in putting this article together. Sometimes you have to ask, how could 4 people do such a lousy job? Another question you want to ask, why would you need 4 people to put together some of these articles? Aha! Right. They're trying to build something. They're trying to do something. Yeah? All right. Here's why I'm sharing this. Starts off, there is arguably no more influential piece of real estate on the internet, particularly in the conservative circles, than the lead section of the Drudge Report. Now, I didn't think of it when I found this. I have to wonder if good old Joe here has been watching these videos, because I've been saying it for months. This is the most influential conservative news aggregate in the world. That's what I would say, you know. I kind of made that up based on observation, logic, and reason. Nobody told me that. Well, there you go. And that's how you need to think about. You've been given a sound mind. If you're a believer, you've been given a sound mind. You can reason. You can put things together. You can synthesize from data points very good understandings of what's going, good perception and good understanding. So anyway, just want to share that with you. Okay. Moving on. Today's Drudge Report. I'm not going through the headlines other than to say, as I've said before, that we, it's started as a gossip column for Hollywood and DC, and Matt Drudge's Hollywood apartment bedroom. And, wherever he lives now, my point is it still is. It's about gossip, drama, and things in Hollywood and DC. And I also assert it's a mind control vehicle. And many agendas are pushed here. Again, remember what media that guy concurred with me. It is arguably the most influential website, internet piece of real estate, especially in conservative circles, that's out there, okay? And reaching in 24 hours more people than over 100 countries. Now, finally, maybe that's hitting you, okay? And why this is important. We're living in the age of deception. Take heed that no man deceive you. If you are not taking heed to not be deceived by what we read, and this is just a very good cross-section or slice of what's out there in all the media, okay? It's representative of something influential, looked at by many people, affects their thinking. So if we can't take something like this and frame it in the Word of God, we've got no business reading it because it's too high for us. It's too high. I say the same things over and over again. It actually contributes to the videos being longer, and I really want to get past it. But I always feel like I'm talking to someone new, and that's really all that matters to me, is the person whose eyes have never been opened. And if yours have been, and this part's boring and repetitive and redundant, maybe it's good for you to, because I try to, as I talk about this, new ways of looking at it or speaking about it come forth, and they're free to use. Be equipped. Aren't we to equip one another? Equipping of the saints, So, the Roman Catholics would tell you that you're not a saint unless you're dead and the Pope says so, or however they do it. Well, Bible say his people are saints because they're sanctified and holy, called out, set apart by the blood of the Messiah, the blood of Christ, sealing of the Holy, infilling, the sealing by the Holy Ghost. He's the author and finisher of your faith, refers to you as saints. Anyway, so, you got the usual things going on in here. You've got the distractions, you've got the scintillating, the sex stuff. You've got it all, right? But that's not what I want to focus on today. Maybe one of these days I'll know enough to focus on the whole why they keep coming up with shark stories. Seem pretty consistent, as I mentioned a week or so ago. I want to talk today about space. First off, I read, or I recited to you from, I didn't read from it, I recited to you Matthew 24, the first part, where the Master said, take heed that no man deceive you. So that's always featured in the comment section. But now hear this. Now these are the things for today. Now I actually put this, titled this, and was going to do this a week ago. And I just didn't have the get up and go to do it, because it's a heavy burden, really. It's like it's a lot to lift this. I want to do it really well, but I also have a motto that helps me sometimes in situations like this: better done than perfect, right? So once again, some of the things I sort of get into here, you need to, hopefully you recognize that, well, this guy, his brains aren't mush. He's not stupid. I mean that most modestly. He's not stupid. So maybe there's something to what he says. Why does he believe it so strongly? So then you get off your couch, go sit at your desk, or wherever you work, or wherever you do it, and you look into it. You conclude for yourself. I'm not selling anything. I'm just doing something here for my own exercise, edification, spiritual benefit. Makes me stronger. But also, this is just sword play, really. I'm just working out with my sword here. However, I hope it's beneficial to someone out there, because we are the salt of the earth, the salt and light of the earth. And if we lose our saltiness, we're good for nothing but to be trampled underfoot. And I maintain that, at least in the U.S. of A., churchianity is largely trampled underfoot. Largely trampled underfoot. It's trampled underfoot. It has no strength, easily run over. People don't know how to push back, stand up, battle the lies. Anyway, Genesis 11:4, Bible say, when I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have ordained. And they said, go to, let us build a city and a tower, whose top may reach into heaven. Let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad on the face of the whole earth. Now, a couple things from here to consider. The Lord made the heavens and the earth, the moons and the stars. They're the work of his fingers, Bible say. We talk about, in the Sludge report, context, non-text, and subtext. Well, there's non-text here. And I don't believe it's mind control. It's just the way it is. It's because the word is truth. The non-text is, he didn't say the moon, the planets, and the stars, which thou hast ordained. Isn't that curious? Why didn't the Lord mention the planets? Just put that in there and tuck that away. Put it in your pocket. And they said, go to, let us build a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name. Now, think about that. You've got the people at NASA, the politicians that, even going back to John F. Kennedy, we're going to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade, be the first country in space, or not in space, sorry. First, I believe the Russians were the first that put a man in space, but the first to go to the moon. Excuse me. And the politicians who get behind that, even now, the character and actor known as President Donald J. Trump, want to go to Mars. The character and actor Barack Obama talked about going to Mars. I think Clinton did. I don't remember what about Bush about this. He was more about let's fight those who hate us because of our freedom. let's bomb them into democracy. That's all twisted, even that statement. All right, whatever. I don't remember what he said, or what. I'm just riffing off here, starting with Trump and realizing, hey, Obama was talking about Mars. I think Clinton was. In betweens, I don't remember. I wouldn't doubt it. Or going back to the moon anyway. So there's this talk of that, Let us go into heaven, reach into heaven. Let us make us a name. Think about that, Anyway, you have that. free. Psalms 8:3. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differs from another star in glory. Now, curiously, why was there no talk of planets? Remember, the Word of God's inspired. Now, if you're of the ilk that you don't believe that, the Bible was written by men and there was a conspiracy and it's all manipulation and they took pagan themes and they wove it together. Well, I know in whom I have believed. And there is a matter of faith where you believe things unseen. And I am sorry you don't have it. But when you've trafficked in the Word, when you understand how prophecy has been fulfilled, and the way it's all been over, the probabilities are to the point it's not only improbable, it's impossible that all these things have been fulfilled. And that's for you and the Lord to work out. I can't save you. But the Bible, and when I say that, I say it loosely because there's the 66 books of the quote-unquote canon. There's some other books. So what is the Bible? Let me just say the scriptures, okay? These scriptures say that there are celestial and terrestrial bodies, but the glory of the celestial is one, the terrestrial is another. So they're different, But he talks about the sun, the moon, and the stars. Where's the planets and all of that? Surely the ancients knew about the planets. Well, I believe all kinds of history shows that they do. Okay, you don't know that? Find out. All right. Genesis 1:14-16 says, And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and for years. Let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. Well, here we have, we're being told why those things were put in place. Are there other reasons they're put in place? They're just not mentioned. Yeah, maybe. But we've got to look at the whole counsel of God. So just tuck that away for a minute. Said, And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Now, scientismists would have you believe that all the stars are other suns and other solar systems and other things like that with planets, and just statistically, there would have to be others like ours because of the infinite vastness and seeming unendingness, sheer quantity and size and everything and time, that it just, if we developed, or as they put it, evolved out of the cosmic dust, why wouldn't it help in somewhere else? We see patterns in everything. So why here? Even if it's true, there are suns and solar systems and all these things everywhere else, and Earths like ours. Well, I'm gonna stop there for a moment. We have to understand, what is the firmament? What is the firmament to divide the day and the night? And why is it said that only the lights in the firmament of heaven were for signs and for seasons and for days and years? Not for creating other worlds, not for any other purpose given to us. All right, so where am I going with this? I'm just filling in the margins, the space here. I'm laying a foundation here, okay? Not sure how I'll bring this part up again, because I don't want to get into all this. Again, the Sludge report is not about convincing you that the space program, that all these things, that we didn't go to the moon in 1969, that the Earth is round or flat or whatever. I'm not here to convince you of that. That's for you to search out. But I will tell you a few things here. First thing is, why? This is, by the way, this is the Drudge Report archives, okay? You can see where these, first of all, this is October. These days haven't happened yet. We're on the 5th. And going back to the 2nd of Monday, or excuse me, the 30th of Monday in September, I opened up 5 archived Drudge Report pages. All of them I picked around 9 a.m. So I learned something. It may be that they actually have a schedule that a computer refreshes. There may be some automation going on here, because there did seem to be consistent times when there was a new date snapshot. Or maybe that's just why it just does it. It makes a snapshot at certain times. That's probably the likely thing. Anyway, so these are the archives. This is where this came from. So I can close this now, okay? So let's look, this is just a sampling, just going back 5 days. But I know it's true if you go back 30 days or 60 days or, whatever, you will see some of these patterns on many topics. But I want to focus in on space, Mars, aliens, UFOs, and ask the question, why are we being given this all the time? Now, you could have your own argument. Oh, well, there's public interest. Why is there public interest so much? And I posit there's a deception going on. It's part of the mind control. It's social conditioning. So here we've got on Monday, Musk rocket to Mars. There's one, okay? That was this week, Monday. Here's Tuesday, I believe. I wish they put the date on these. Or wait, maybe it's up here. Yeah, 10-1. Okay, there it is. 10-1. Let's see here. Repeats the article. Again, I've said sometimes they linger for a couple days. Musk rocket to Mars. This is going to sound totally nuts. NASA rebukes timetable. Now we have some more additions. Mystery object hovering over New York City. UFO enters the picture. This is 10-2, the next day. Okay. Mysterious fireball. Now the Musk article's gone in this one, I think. I didn't even see this when I pulled it up. Okay. Mysterious fireball that crashed and burned wasn't meteor. Titillating headline here. Not natural. Okay. Look up here. Martian sounds captured. I listened to this. There's nothing there. It's nothing. I mean, there's like a hum. It's ridiculous. We've known, not known, I wouldn't say known. We've been told. Let's put it that way. We've been told for, I think even going back to when I was a little boy. I had pictures of the Martian lander, rover. I've forgotten what it's called. I've got the book somewhere. Having pictures of Mars, very stark and bouldery, rocky, and but anyway. My point is, we were told that there's air on Mars. It's thinner. There's air on Mars. So when there's air, you have sound. Well, you have sound underwater too, by the way. But anyway, my point is, Martian sounds captured. Talking about Martian sounds. When NASA finds life, they make a link here to Martian sounds, which somewhere in most minds you're like, oh, it's a Martian. What's going on Mars? When NASA finds life, the world may not be ready. It's just the discussion, right? Finding life now. Finding life on other worlds, okay? Take that one out. Here we are on the 3rd. So this would be Thursday. Let's see. I know that when I pulled all these up and looked, here we go. Mysterious fireballs that crash on Earth, not meteorites. So there's an update on this. But now they added fleet of glowing objects off the North Carolina coast. So they bring us a UFO story. My friends, there are UFO stories every day. If a news person wanted to go find one to put in there, they can do it any day. Now, you could say, well, they're only putting the ones that seen by majorities and things like this. Well, maybe, but the point is that they're pretty much at someone's disposal. And here we go with the fleet of glowing objects off the North Carolina coast. Then back to Musk. Musk plan for sending people to Mars suicide mission. So now you've got this debate going that's, real or not, I don't know. Never forget that the people involved in these plans are deceived on some level, but probably on many levels. To pull off many of these things, hoaxes, it takes compartmentalization. It takes, it's not as hard as it sounds. It's not impossible at all, but some people would make it, oh, how many people could be involved in NASA and all this, and they could fake going to the moon? You'd be surprised. And that's for you to find out. There are answers out there. This is not the subject of this video. The subject of the video is to show that we're being conditioned to think about, to talk about going to Mars, alien life, and UFOs all the time, on the daily, on the regular. This is just a look back of 5 days, and I'm not doing it just because when I was going to do this story, this episode, that was before last Monday. I kid you not. It was before last Monday. And moving on to yesterday. It was yesterday. Let's see. Where did I see it? Maybe we didn't have one yesterday. Seems we did. But maybe we didn't. Well, you get a day off. But I think if we look at... no, here we go. More about that. Strange lights off Outer Banks spark debate. Aliens or military? This is regular talk now. And there's a lot more of it going on, but this is mainstream. Remember, 30 million people, more than 100, I believe, and 24 population of 124 nations of the earth out of 194. I'd have to go pull that up again. I'm close, okay? I don't remember the exact number, but I'm close. It's a lot of people. Why? Well, we're told, the Bible say that in the end days there'll be lying signs and wonders. We're also told that Satan's the prince and the power of the air. Think about it. Okay. So I want to talk about that. But now, here's today's. Let's see. I'm not sure. I can't. Now I've gone far down the track. I don't remember if I looked through this to see if there was any today. Again, there's just, I'll have to say it. Woman's box of sex toys contain lover's decapitated head. Sexercise. Research reveals how many calories different positions burns. Think about this website. Again, everything I told you about it, what Mediaite said about it, and the filth. Well, sex isn't filthy, okay, but it's used as a tool to desensitize people, to change their focus, to bring sex out of the context for which it was given to us, to promote what they call sexual liberation, but basically means lasciviousness, licentiousness, irresponsible behavior, normalizing perversions, all these things, okay? So, all right, I don't want to go on a sidetrack. I've talked about that before. There's always stuff in here about certain themes. One of them is, Matt Drudge brings up a lot of, even a lot of homosexual stuff too, around the world. Let's put it in your face. Think about that. Doesn't that start to kind of tick you off? Well, you don't have to read it, but again, what passes for truth? What passes for normal? What passes for what's important? again, this Sludge report is about framing the news and the deceptions in the Word of God. Strange lights off the Outer Banks. Okay, so we can close the Drudge report now. I don't want to talk about or look at. So this is 7 days ago. That must have been when because these are the ones from when I was going to make the previous Sludge report. I started to do it, and I thought, I don't feel like it. You know, it just gets old. Nobody out there likes or shares it, seems like. So am I talking just to pieces of plastic and it's going in a black hole? Maybe, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. By the way, that celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial verse I read, it might have been from Corinthians 15:40-41. I might have had I might be missing a verse. I think it is from 1 Corinthians 15:40-41. Okay, back to this. I didn't, maybe going out to nothing. Nobody shares it. Nobody likes it. Are people afraid? Are you fearful? Are you a coward? I don't know. Or do you hate it so much? Or you think, I wish I could tell him he talks too much. It goes on too long. Okay, well, send me a message. I would love these to be 15 minutes. But, for now, I don't do them every day anymore. But when I do them, it's like working out. You work out until you finally, it's like it's time to quit. That's how this is. Elon Musk to unveil SpaceX's new Starship design tonight. Here's what to expect. So Elon Musk, interesting name, interesting person, young, and all of a sudden he's fabulously wealthy, and now he's a world power in the space race, if you will. How did that happen? Here's a guy who smoking a joint with Joe Rogan on his podcast, who I don't know enough about him. I don't follow him or anything, but I'm just doing a little prep this morning. I learned a few more things, and I've seen him make Twitters like send me your dank memes, and that's fine. But it just very, I'm all for people being youthful and having lots of interest, and I like dank memes, myself. But my point being is that this guy, I've already learned about a person who's sort of behind the scenes and makes the whole SpaceX thing happen, and it's not Elon Musk. He's I don't know, just like Zuckerberg, he's like he's what Mark Zuckerberg is to social media and Facebook, Elon Musk is to sort of cutting edge, bringing science fiction to reality in that world, that in the space world. Just seems to me, that's just my impression, right? And I don't know enough about him, but what I do know about the world and people like him, something seems a little off. And I'm not too concerned about that, okay? I'm concerned here on this video about exposing like how we're being conditioned with things, taught what to think, and also normalizing that, yeah, we're going to Mars, we're going to space, UFOs are real, all these things, right? So here is this is clearly not a real picture. If you thought it was, you're wrong, okay? Now look at this craft. Keep it in mind. So making a big unveiling. I'm not going to play this video or anything like that. You can see these rockets. They look like, by and large, silos that you see in fields in the Midwest with fins on them, and some of the fins aren't even solid fins. So let's move over here. I'm looking at what I pulled up last week. Okay, here's something about where Musk got his money. He basically claimed he started like PayPal or something like that. Let's see here. Yeah, the company known as PayPal was sold for $1.5 billion. Okay. Let's see here. So much is made of, a celebrity's been made of him as well. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. Now this photo, what I want to show you, this is, this looks like it's out of some rock music video or something, right? So here you have a picture of like ostensibly from space, and this is a Tesla vehicle, and this is a astronaut dummy that I guess was launched into space. And I know that, I believe it was in reference to this. Elon Musk is quoted as saying, "It's so fake it has to be real. It looks so fake it has to be real." Now think about that, and think about framing it in the fact that out of the heart the mouth speaks. All the issues of life come forward from our heart, and out of our mouth, our heart, things come out of our heart. What's inside will come out of people's mouth, is what I'm trying to say. So what is he saying? Well, first of all, I don't have a picture of this. I would like to pull one up, but I'm not going to do that. This image of space, if you look at the different images of space, this is for you to do. I'm telling you what to do, and you'll see. Do your own work, right? I could stop and go look for this and take me a few minutes. I don't want to do it. You compare all the different images of Earth over the years, they look drastically different, and every one of them is fake. Now, why is that? Why can't they get a picture of the planet? Well, they're afraid that people will see that it really is a globe, or people will see that it really is flat. Or can they even go that far out and that high? These are questions that need to be asked, because when you see that the pictures that they recycle these pictures, by the way, of what is the Earth from space, and there's something very, very wrong with it. Okay, just take my word for it and go find out for yourself. I should say, don't take my word for it. No, take my word for it that I have observed this, and you go find out for yourself before you believe it. I hope that made sense. So anyway, this is sort of ridiculous on the face of it. And there's even a video, which when I saw it, I thought, it was this video that they're claiming this is video of this actually happening? Because it looked like a 80s rock video, and it was completely fake. And I don't know, I just want to point this out. That's all, just pointing it out, that this is from, I think that it's from that little film. This is not like a little setup montage they created for an image. I believe this was from that thing, but you can clearly see the lighting. This is like studio lit. So let's move on. Okay. Here is the Starhopper's touchdown. Now check this thing out, okay? I want you to look at this picture. One thing I just pulled this one up this morning. The first thing I noticed, or maybe this is one I pulled up, but I haven't looked at it in a week. But notice these repeating cycles of the flame. Like if you have a candle, you've seen a flame. If you turn this upside down like a candle, you know what a flame looks like, or a blowtorch. But it almost, like the way this weaves in and out, okay, a spiral on each side. The way this looks is almost like a doubling. You have to be wary these days of what can be done with Photoshop. Now this clearly looks to me also like Photoshop blurring. Or the kind that might be done with software. But let's play the video of this. And I want to point something out. Just observations, okay? Where are we going here? Well, I'm going to have to refresh this page because I'm pretty sure that played before. So, yeah. So they're saying this was filmed by a drone, okay? Now, some of this looks real, but some of it doesn't. And that's what I want to point out here. Is this real footage or not? I don't know. It's getting hard to tell, but there's something that doesn't feel right about it. Let's look at this. Okay, so here it is blasting off. I'm not sure where. Must be the Florida coast. So you could say, well, how do they do clouds that would be fake? All right, look at this controlled ascent. It moves a little bit. So the way this one at least has some fins, some guidance for the air. It doesn't really have enough velocity for that to really make much difference. But you can see this flame sort of on a nozzle that rotates a bit to help it hover. Now look at this flame. Okay, right here I want to pause it. The little puffs of smoke The space shuttle allegedly had them. Like, these are little side rockets that help with steering. Now, you want to ask yourself why it needed stabilizing here when it didn't before, but also why. Look how instantaneously this puff disappears. Did it evaporate? Is it ice cold? Is it some kind of chemical that evaporates as soon as it hits the air? Well, if it's a rocket, if it's a thruster, they're called thrusters. If it's a thruster, I want to know more about this. You should want to know more about this. This is a red flag. It raises a question. Let me play it again. You'll see a few more of them. Watch how they come out and they stop almost precisely like a little very thin cone, and then in a flash the entire cone disappears. Not the particles or whatever that have been out here further, and then it kind of like disappears in a now think about this, right? So it comes out, the originating source here, it comes out to about here and stops like on almost a perfect line. It's not even fuzzed out like the bottom here, right? It'd almost be like if this flame stopped and had a complete horizontal line right here. You'd say, that doesn't look right. Well, look at this. It happens so fast, you have to think about it. Very thin nozzle. It stops on the edge, and then the entire thing disappears. Not the part that's expanded just slightly and been out here exposed in the air and is reacting in the sun and the air, which would cause it to change. The entire thing from there to the origin disappears at the same moment. Oh, is it a quantum physics thing? Wow, that's pretty impressive, but I don't think so. All right, so let's play it again. Or, I just replayed it a couple seconds. Do you see it? I'll go back 10 seconds. Now that, this is like the 4th time I've watched it ever. This is the 5th time. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I guess I did see a little bit more of a cloud effect out here versus a straight edge, but that disappearance, now I wish I could, let me see if I can slow it down a little bit. Yep, can't slow it down, at least in this format. It could be done, but I'm not going to do that. It's just something's wrong with it, okay? Now, this is in the context of other things that are wrong, so I'm more confident in saying that than you might be in accepting it. We're seeing it. So here it comes down. Now right here, I want to relate this to the fact that in 1969, the moon lander had a similar way of landing on the moon. Had little thrusters to directionally stabilize it. Then you had it coming down and controlling its descent with rockets on the bottom. And then when it blasted off as well, it left no crater. There's no dust blown out. All these things. Why not? And here we are 50 years later. And look at the dust cloud being created here. And look at the kind of flame which would seem to have a lot of power and thrust to support something so obtuse and oblong as this, or excuse me, obtuse and chunky as this, and looking very heavy. Now his rockets apparently are, a lot of it's stainless steel. I don't know. Just my point is look at this cloud, and on the moon lander, there's nothing. Don't even blow up in the dust. Here it comes down. Now, notice that here at the end, again, I don't know what it means. Something just doesn't seem right. We see how it, what's going on here? Well, some of these sites are like this, and maybe it's just in this particular browser. Anyway, the thrusters started, shooting off, but they weren't disappearing. Anyway, that's just something. So there's that, okay? So I want you to look at this photo, this prototype, okay? I just find it curious. Elon Musk's big thing, SpaceX big thing, is about getting to Mars. I just want to look at the picture, okay? Here's their rockets. This is from the Martian Chronicles in 1979, I think it was, starring Rock Hudson. And this is from the second part called The Settlers, and I had to search through and kind of capture a still. So you got these rockets, and the way they land is just remarkably similar to the SpaceX deal. And it's all is the SpaceX thing is almost touted like this breakthrough way of doing space and landing and stuff. Well, Martian Chronicles, I want to show you this. Now, actually, before I get into just the sheer oddness of this Elon Musk character trying to bring, revamp the space program, get us to Mars, making it more of a civilian endeavor, cooperation with government, whatever. But get humanity to Mars, get us a base on the moon, all these kinds of things. And the rocket, it looks like it was designed in 1979. Now, I don't know when Elon Musk was born, but he wasn't very old in 1979, if he was born then at all. Let me play this little clip. This is from the Martian Chronicles Part 1, The Expeditions. And what I want you to keep in mind, this is from 1979.
Preparing transfer to main craft.
Okay, right here. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is the thrusters. Okay? Think about how far computer graphics have come, computer processing, computer imaging, however you want to term it, all the components. Insofar as they can make people out of, they can make fake people and have them perform, talk, speak, facial movements, everything, or create a face, a picture that doesn't exist. There's big concerns about deep fakes. You've heard of this term. This is where they could take film of certain people doing things and transpose someone else's image and identity, and through computer technology make their face, a photo of their face, now come to life on someone else. And so now it looks like that person is doing that. So it has implications in blackmail and crime and testimonies and everything like that. But that's the technology. So remember, this is Hollywood budget for a TV miniseries. Not a multi-million-dollar movie blockbuster. It's a TV miniseries. Now, I'm not an expert. I don't know all the difference, but I just imagine it's a little bit less than some pioneering science fiction movie making people. It was a television miniseries. Check out the flames coming out of the back of this, and remember, this is 40 years ago. Okay. Now I think I already closed the rocket. Oh, yeah, I closed it, didn't I? Well, you have it in your mind's eye. Think of that rocket, that thruster that I pointed out, that had the curious doubling of the the way the flames converged. How it looked in the video. It almost looks like, if you could take let me put it this way, if you could go get yourself a propane torch at your local Menards or Lowe's, or down in your basement maybe, or out in your garage, fire it up. Look at that blue flame. Now you think about how someone could film some kind of a Bunsen burner or a blowtorch like that and manipulate that image and create a rocket thrust. Now, I know some of you are thinking already, it's like, man, something's wrong with your head. No, I may not be presenting it really well or with all the things I know and have seen over the years about this stuff, but that's why I say I'm going to make I already told you, I'm going to make assertions that you're going to have to go search out yourself. But the point being is that we're being told about this kind of stuff all the time, but when you really look at it, there are problems. And what does this mean? Well, this also means that there was a long-term plan for this progression, okay? And they're not just looking back and borrowing ideas. Many things, for example, like 9/11, were planned way, way back. Way, way back. Even perhaps before they built the Twin Towers for such a time as this, okay? What are you talking about, Uncle Benny? I can't get into it right now because it's already 8:30. Now that makes this video about almost an hour long. And, you know, I've had it. That's enough. Anyway, just be aware of this stuff, that images you see aren't what they seem. And unfortunately, I'm not seeing... there is... I don't know why I don't have it. Maybe it's in... There's some of his craft. I'll just have to describe it to you, okay? I'll play this without the sound. Some of his... Look at this. It's like a corn silo. They're putting a little pointier top on it. I mean, it's sort of a joke. Okay, I'm going to get into something else. But anyway, a lot of the stabilizer fins and some of the controlled landings, I don't know where that video went. I had a video. I looked at that, and that really kind of made me want to focus in on this topic with the SpaceX deal, because it looks so fake, and this rocket was so thin and tall. It just defies your sense of space, time, and physics that this thing could be being stabilized sheerly by some kind of sophisticated directional nozzle of thrust, when the fins, even when it was traveling at a fast speed, the fins were just outlines of fins. They were hollow. I mean, hollow. Not see-through, hollow. They were basically placeholder images of fins on this tube. And yet it came in for a vertical landing. It was so fake looking. This was passed off as like, this is video of them landing one of these. I don't know. I gotta find that now. Let's see here. That's not it. At least these have fins, you know. Okay, maybe I won't be able to find it in time. Keep it trucking. So look at this image, by the way. Okay, see the astronaut here, or Martianaut, whatever you want to call him. And then we're gonna, if you get into the Martian Chronicles a little further, this is the settlers. I want the other one. So we're gonna look at, they're landed there. Here we go. Look at this. It's coming up. It's kind of hard in an hour and a half movie to find the exact spot.
God in heaven.
I'll be damned.
Okay, we don't need to hear the dialogue. So this is them landing on Mars in their spacecraft, which remarkably looks a lot like what we're being pushed for. These are the rockets that are going to take men to Mars. Look at this thing, okay? You'll see more in a second. I wish I could get a full-on shot of it. The ones I showed you, the little fleet of them, those were a little bit different design. The one that actually landed there looks a lot like what we're being pushed for the SpaceX vehicles, or what's being pushed as the SpaceX vehicles. And it's like they're almost, you know, came out of the same factory. Oh, think about that. Maybe they did. Okay, it's taking a little longer than I thought. We're going to get a shot of this in a minute. Here's a better one. Back up a minute. I guess I went a little too far. Okay, look at this. You got the thrusters, and you can just extrapolate. Imagine the, I mean, they come down between the thrusters in a little elevator, but it's like a stainless steel vehicle, you know, shiny metal, and it has the 3 or 4 stabilizing fins that it lands upon, and then like a silo. Okay. Well, Uncle Benny, there's only so many designs of rockets you can have. Well, what happened to the whole space shuttle thing? You know. Let's see, this is Here you go. There's a little bit more of an image, but you get the idea. Okay. Art imitating life, or life imitating art, or are they working together, or is it all fiction? Something to think about. So I want to talk about this too. So here's a picture of this vehicle. Listen to Elon Musk.
Well, steel has a melting temperature around 1500 degrees centigrade.
Okay. Elon Musk is speaking, and this is the unveiling of this new rocket, Falcon 1. And he says, steel has a melting temperature of around, or actually he says temperature, a melting temperature of about 1500 degrees Celsius, okay? And he's talking about steel versus aluminum, and aluminum being around 300 degrees Celsius. So aluminum is not the material, but they're using this steel 301. He goes on to say that the windward side, which is when this thing re-enters, okay, and I'm without playing more video, I want to end this video. I want to end this Uncle Benny's video. This thing comes in sort of like it falls into Earth in a controlled fall. So it has what's called a windward side. And I don't know how these little fins are going to stabilize this thing from ever rolling, or if there's ever any small problem it's going to roll, because he talks about putting tiles on the windward side versus the leeward side being, tiles like the space shuttle had tiles, okay? And these tiles will reduce the heat of the exterior of the craft, it's being exposed to that windward side as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. So it won't melt. Well, if you look at what the temperatures are around the hull when you come in, again, if everything goes well and your speed's exactly right and all these things, because a lot of the heat's from the friction, re-entry temperature exceeded 1260 degrees. Let's see here. Here we go. The Space Shuttle Thermal Protection System is the barrier that protected the Space Shuttle orbiter during the searing 1650 degree heat of atmospheric re-entry. So he's saying steel melts, which it does. Well, I thought it was like 1200 degrees. Anyway, it's not important because this could tie into 9/11 and the steel beams melting and all this from jet fuel. But point being is he's using Celsius, and he said steel melts around 1500 degrees. I think it's less than that, but it may be a special composite steel or something. I think he called it steel 301 or something. All right, let's set that. But he uses the term 1500 degrees, and here it is. This is 150 degrees hotter. Well, you have a melting point, just like you have a boiling point. Okay, it's predictable. It's not like this big, you got plus or minus hundreds of degrees. Okay, so they're banking on putting tiles on one side to lower against this steel that would melt if one of those tiles fell off. What about it rolling over? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That this would even work, and why are there not tiles on here now? They're going to be hexagonal tiles. But why are they on? It's going to be kind of oddly weighted. Well, maybe they'll have a counterweight on the other side, right? This stuff's not talked about or explained, but I just want to point this out. There's something kind of funny about it, okay? And I'm kicking myself right now because the video I had of these rockets landing was so ridiculous. The flame coming out of the bottom looked like what I showed you from the 1979 movie of that rocket moving through space. It almost looked like even that it was even older than that. And I was looking at it with no stabilizing fins and thinking, they're landing this Roman candle by all these micro adjustments on the. And I think about this as a straight up and down stick landing on one end. And they're controlling the flame. A little to the left, it's going to go to the right. A little to the right, it's going to move to the left. And they're doing this, manipulating that nozzle so precisely, really, to land it straight up and down. You better, it'd be better to put some wheels on it and land it horizontally. Be a lot easier and a lot less risky. Anyway, this just defies my just defies common sense. It kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It creates cognitive dissonance. Okay. Now you may not be with me on this, and you're thinking, oh well, you're not explaining this and overcoming the arguments and things. And like you said, you have the tiles on there. It's going to lower the heat. Yeah, do you think so? I don't know. It stinks. Okay, it really does. By the way, right here, here's the little forward directional thrusters and things, and there's some back here. I built several model space shuttles when I was younger. Like I told you, to abandon the whole idea of us actually going in space to the moon, to other planets, or alien life and things, that cost me a lot. I have, I don't know, I was 11 or 12. I was out in this Air and Space Museum out in, I think it was Washington. Anyway, they had a manual you could buy. I still have it. A manual for the space shuttle. It was remarkable. All the diagrams, everything, all the controls. It was a manual. I bought it. How to fly the space shuttle. I was into it, man. This doesn't make sense. Okay, figure it out for yourself. But it doesn't make sense that this thing's made out of the steel that melts at 1500 degrees or less. It may even be less. They're gonna fly it in. Let me see if there's a video. Maybe this part.
Like at first it feels like, oh, it's steel. Does that mean it's heavy?
Okay,
no,
so
actually it's
these fins, right? They show them kind of flapping. It's coming in like sideways like this with these tiny fins, and it's sort of like they flap and change to keep it stable and to keep it flying, basically. Controlled fall is what they call it. Well, they're not going to have tiles on the other side because there could be any number of factors that cause this thing to get into a roll or in the wrong angle. It just it doesn't make sense. And one of the whole things of making this look possible is he's basically selling the idea of why this shiny new rocket made of stainless steel is cutting edge, but it's really close to the edge in my opinion. All right, well, there you go. That's it. That's all I want to talk about. I really fell short by not having the videos of the Roman candle being stabilized with no fins and just this thruster is unbelievable. Unbelievable is what it was. And there's more things I want to talk about. There is plenty of things to I don't believe in 1969 we went to the moon, and I believe you ought to look into it. And I also want to recommend this book called Terra Firma, The Earth Not a Planet, Proven from Scripture, Reason, and Fact. When all these things fall into place, you can see that we are not going to other planets. Planets may not even be planets. And you're listening to somebody who used to live to take my Bushnell telescope out to a dark place, no lights anywhere, and look at the rings of Saturn and the moons of Jupiter and wonder at the sky and all these things. And, they may be lights in the heavens, they may be something, but they're not necessarily these rock solid like Mars, not like this globe like ours, that we can get to if we just get the right window of proximity and the right vehicle to get there and right systems. No, they're lights in the heavens. And we're not necessarily all in this system orbiting around the sun. You've got to search it out yourself, but it's worth knowing. And if they're deceiving us about one thing, what are they deceiving us about another, and why? Well, I'll give you one offering, is that the reason that the whole space alien and us, going to the heavens, the agenda is that we're out here in podunk nowhere of the Milky Way galaxy, and the Milky Way galaxy is out there in podunk edges of the universe, away from the center of the Big Bang. and we just evolved. There is no God. We're just stardust that evolved. That's one of the major underpinnings of why this is going on. Another reason is that you have a program like this that people believe in, money gets pumped into it, but where does it go? I mean, we're talking a lot of money. Where does it go? And there's other reasons too. But there you go. Make a great day. Thanks for coming out.